All right, guys, welcome to the show. I am Harry Wilmington, and this is the Introvert Dating Success Show, where we interview guests that are talking about dating. And today we have an interview with Paradis. He is a certified relationship dynamics coach who teaches men and women how to be more effective in their communication with each other through his Project Equinox coaching program. He's a life coach, published writer, an ordained minister, and fun fact, back in the day, he was also a dancer and danced with legends such as Michael Jackson, my personal favorite, Prince, and Paula Abdul. He's also been married to his wife, Nancy, for over 20 years and has 2 children. And he is here today to help us understand what it really takes to make your next relationship go all the way. Andre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you came on. We were talking a little bit before the show started, and I'm definitely excited. Actually, I asked you about the picture behind you. So for people that are watching this, can you explain what the picture behind you is?
Yeah, so if you go up, it's my wife and I ballroom dancing. That's how our story started. That's how my career started. Before Michael Jackson, Prince, Paula Abdul, and the rest of them, I went to a fancy high school where you could sign up for ballroom dancing for PE, physical education. Okay. And I was a geek. I was 15 years old, and so a little cute thing that I didn't even knew existed comes up to me because you have to sign as a couple, and she's like, oh my god, ballroom dancing, can you sign? You want to register with me? You want to sign with me for class, right? Before it was full. And I'm thinking, her in my arms? Yeah. yeah. So sure enough, and what happened is that very first class, this is interesting because I was like a really awkward kid who didn't fit in anywhere really. Everything the teacher taught, first class, everything the teacher showed us, I could just copy it like this. Instantly. It was weird. Like I didn't know. Something that was in there that I had no idea. The teacher just gets frustrated with me. He's like, can you struggle a little bit? Can you just like take a minute and act like you're struggling? Because the class can't keep up and you make me look bad. And what happened is I ended up sort of co-teaching with him because when you as a male, you have to lead. So he's the only man in class. The teacher was a male. And there was couples where the guys are struggling, but so he would help anyway. So I become assisting of him, and all of a sudden, like I'm from geek to like king in class. It became the thing that I was again. It was just so there that I sort of ended up making a living. I mean, it was by accident, ballroom into continue dancing. When I moved to the West Coast, when there was no ballroom, so I ended up doing jazz dancing, and sure enough, that kind of took off. I kept getting scholarships after scholarship after scholarship. I never paid for my training, all the way to LA, Michael Jackson. What I teach now, relationships, is basically the same thing. The metaphors between ballroom dancing and relationships, what it takes to make a ballroom couple look like this. They're so complementary, right? They're 2 individuals coming together to create this dance. Right, that is a metaphor of relationships, and that's what I teach now because I've done it since I was 15. But it's the same thing. There's such an exchange. Women are not passive when they're ballroom dancing. Do you know what I mean? He leads, but she's not passive, right? She's assisting. She's supporting.
She's the show.
Yeah, she's a show, and nobody looks at him. They all look at her. So, like, there's 2 people. They do different things, but they're both so in charge of different things for it to look the way it does, right? And so it's not like he's in charge and she's passive, so he's the man and she gets to be. It's not her behind him. This is what people really misunderstand about relationships, and I can't spend my life dismantling this, right? Like a ballroom couple, like women think the man in charge, or men, the patriarchy, and men being husbands, and men, holding themselves accountable and be more in charge of life or the outside life or the machine of life, means that he's in front of her and she's behind him. You know what I mean? And so she's a passive, like following him. No. And then what now we think is better, or what women have been encouraged to do with the feminist movement, is to go, well, forget being behind him, get in front of him. Mm-hmm. That doesn't work either. That's not a partnership, right? Mm-hmm. This is like, and that fails radically. Like it's good for money, it's good for business, but in the love matter, it's insane. It does not work, right? What works, it's not him in front of you or you in front of him. It's side by side. It's partnership. It's me and her side by side. Ballroom dancing, right? Like coming together, and I do more of the parts that I'm comfortable with, that I want to be, and she does the part that I don't necessarily want to do, that I'm less comfortable with, that she's more comfortable with. It's complementary. It's not competitive.
That's so true.
What I'm saying.
And like what you said about like how women are wanting men to lead. Because even like, and I know there's a talk today about like, oh, it's not male and female, it's masculine energy and feminine energy. And
Sure.
so if a woman has masculine energy and gets with a guy that has feminine energy, that should work. And I've seen that scenario play out where it's like, at the end of the day, even a woman that has mostly masculine energy is still looking for a man to come and out masculine that energy. So you still end up losing. And I've seen so many couples like that end up getting divorced or breaking up because the man just decided to acquiesce, and it just women don't want that.
Well, what happened is ultimately, in the name of, men have been empowered for millennia, then women will finally take it on, and it's going to be better for them. But ultimately, what happens when men acquiesce, like you say, and lets her lead because she decides that she wants to do it and she knows better, ultimately, it will work for a bit until she completely loses respect for him and is tired. She's tired of it. She wants to sleep. She wants to lay down, but she can't because she's working 60-hour a week in the you go girl movement, and he's at home chilling, and then eventually she loses respect for him. And, well, I'm going to say this, and, people are going to react. It's just, what I'm teaching is not my opinion. It's nature and science, period. That's what I'm teaching. Right? And the layers of chemistry and the chemistry of our bodies, which makes us behave the way we're different. We're not equals being. We're equal in importance, right? Equal right, equal pay, of all that. Yes, but equal beings, we're not, right? What motivates a man does not motivate a woman. What she thinks is interesting and fun, he thinks it's boring. What he's interested in thinks is fun, she thinks it's gross. You know what I mean? Like, so we're not the same, right? So stereotypes, I'm sorry, yes. Men like men things, women like women things, and we're different, driven by different things. But that's the point. That's the two parts that actually makes us like a different entity that makes another, right? So it's not equality that works. And love is the kiss of death. Equality in love kills intimacy completely. When a woman is so proud to be masculine and in control, and when she can't be vulnerable enough over that, and she's got a sweet little boy who'll do whatever she wants, with very quickly she loses respect for him. And now ultimately she doesn't feel safe with him. He's more passive. He can't protect her. If anything happens, it's all on her. She's always rescuing him, right? And ultimately, she's sick of it, and she's looking. Women instinctively, again, watch people are going to blow up here. That's fine. Women instinctively like to be led, because that makes them relax and connecting, instinctively. So, and this is what I teach the men and sort of trying to wake them up to this, because our culture has men shamed out of being masculine. But if you want a woman to follow you, you have to know where the hell you're going, dude. But men nowadays are like, so we shame that out of being masculine. And they're sweet and they're good in bed and sensitive and cute, and they're more manicured than most women. Seriously, have you seen those guys? Like, girl, just enough of the eyebrows. They're right. Like, what are you doing, dude? But it's like, competing against the other cute man. Like, but cute is not masculine, right? Like, what are you doing? What are you up to in the world? What is it that you're going after? What is it how do you build your character? What is it you're producing? What is it you're changing? What are you doing? A woman will not follow. This is instinctual again. Women like to, be led, but the guy has to know what the hell he's like. He has to have somewhere to go for her to follow him.
Truth be told, most guys actually don't want a more masculine woman either. Like, you're trying to be more sensitive and more emotional, stuff like that. But it's like they really don't want like a hard ass woman. They just don't. Like, most men are like, I want a girl that's going to be loyal and sensitive and neat, blah blah. But you guys can't both do those things,
right? Again, complementary dance. There's two parts. And I'm not saying that he leads all the time and she has to support and follow. That's not what I'm saying, right? Because women always say, I speak 2 minutes, and they go, oh, so you want us to dumb it down and wiggle our asses like Marilyn Monroe. Is that what you want? I'm like, is that what I said? That's not what I said. There's a modern way to do this, but there's also a traditional ways that works better. So it's the in-between that I'm talking about, right? Men feel like men when they handle their stuff and take care of their women. That's what makes a man feel like man and a hero, right? Sure. Women feel like women when they can relax a little bit and trust that the man is going to provide and protect her. And you know what I mean? They relax. And when they relax, they're lovely. When they're lovely, they're happy. When they're happy, he wants to give her more because he wants to keep her happy. This is like instinct, right? This is our instinct. Men want women to be happy. Why? Because when she's happy, she's good. And when she's good, I'm good. Ooh, right? Because the moment she's upset, instant tension in the room, instant tension in my body.
Right.
There's no manipulation needed for men to please women and take care of them. Like, this instinctively what we want to do.
Yeah.
Like no manipulation needed. But if you shame men after doing that, then women get really edgy and really untrusting, and then all of a sudden, like this whole thing falls apart. I'm sorry, nature.
And plus, the men don't know what their purpose is supposed to be. It's like, well, you don't want me to lead, or I don't feel like I can lead because that's too toxic,
Toxic.
or whatever. So it's like, so
Yeah.
then what do I do?
Right.
Like,
I want to say this: when women decide they're going to lead the man, right, and refuse his help, refuse his support, because men support in a different way than women support. So we support each other two different ways. It's a whole different conversation. But when women won't let the man support or help her, right? If he has no purpose around her because she's got everything handled and she don't need him and she doesn't want, he's going to do wrong anyway. So, right? And men are literally like, this is the use of the words that they use. Men feel unemployed. My last girlfriend was one of those, right? She had bad history with men and blah. I get it, right? Everybody's got their baggage. Now you have to clean your baggage because you're going to bring in every other relationship and you're going to find yourself in the same ridiculous dead end every time. So her baggage was she didn't trust men. Now I come in, I'm a different kind of guy from everything that she's known, but to her I was a dangerous thing with a penis that you can't trust. She was so guarded, and what happened is we didn't fight because I don't fight. I just talk and negotiate. And what's this? And what happened? And why are you like this? And what I do. But she's so guarded. Listen, I'm a car guy. I own a body shop for years. I'm a car guy. I'm the one who takes care of everybody's car. I have all the hookups. I have right. She wouldn't let me help her with a car. Oh no, I have a good mechanic. I'm like, I'm the mechanic. What are you talking about? Right? I have. Where are you going? The dealership? Are you crazy? You don't go to the dealership. You getting screwed. She won that. So it was a 9 months relationship. And what happened is she would not let me in anywhere. She could not be vulnerable to me. She had herself all built up in a solid box, said she wanted a relationship, but she refused to let me participate. And what happens to men in relationships with women is that men need to feel needed to feel masculine. They want to be your heroes, so they try to impress you and they keep doing things to make you happy, make your life better, because when you're better, I feel better, right? So it's sort of again, it's a dance. But if you won't let me help, I feel unemployed. And we end up breaking up, not because we're fighting, because I don't know why, I didn't know I was there. That's what I'm saying. You have to dismantle your crap, unload your baggage first, and then learn to dance. If you're stuck, and if you, from both sides, men and women, if you say stuff like, men are all whatever, women are all whatever, they never and they always, it's you. It's you. You need some help.
So with the dating stuff, obviously you're a coach now, but like, what was your early dating life growing up like?
Well, interesting. I'm French Canadian, so the French are lovers. So at the age of 10, I was French kissing chicks behind the hangar. I always attracted sweet women, so that was my default. My friends attracted crazy ones. My friends fought with theirs. And now looking back, most people do. Most people collide in relationship a lot. Looking back now, knowing what I know with my studies and my work, that they had mommy issues that you throw on the girlfriends, and the girls have daddy issues that throw on the boyfriends. I had a good dating life, and being in public, being a dancer, being a guy who women love dancers, right? Women love men who dance. Well, hello. So that was quite easy for me, and I never thought I was going to get married. I was never going to have any kids. I was never going to do, it's just a piece of paper. How many times did I say this as a young man? It's just a piece of paper. It doesn't mean nothing, right? It doesn't change anything. I mean, I said this my entire life. Now, part of it is because even though I was attracted to sweet women, I did not role model. My parents were, I think, I had a ridiculous relationship, right? It was ridiculous. Like, if this is a relationship, I don't want it. So I won't get committed so I can always, be safe again. This we talked about you earlier, right? Never really get in and really like start to learn to dance and really commit to the relationship, because I didn't think, I thought it was a trap and I couldn't make that work. I didn't want it anyway. So my role modeling of that was not something I was interested in. And then at the time,
was your plan then to like just consistently date, or just find a woman?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we'll just do long term, but no paperwork. Like, what was your plan?
My plan was, as long as it's fun, I'd stay in there. And there's always, and it's interesting because it's now part of the work that I do. Is there's data on this. Like, relationship building a relationship is very predictable. The stages of development of a relationship, the same way.
Thank you.
They're just are, right, and actually very specific and very clear. And as much as we're all different people, stage of development of relationships are very like if you have a baby, let's say you have a baby, right? And if you get a baby book, right? The book will say between 0 and 3 months, the babies will develop this way, expect this. Between 3 and 6 months, this will happen. 6 and 9, right? Like very specific month to month, right? Something happens in segments of 3 months. Relationship is exactly the same. There's development of relationships,
Yeah.
right? The stages to
I'm
get
glad
to.
you're saying this, because so many guys that I've taught, that I've coached or talked to, they'll think that, because I'm very much in the agreement of like, dating is very easy to do. It's a laid out system that you follow to get the results you want. And people will call that game playing. And I'm like, no, it's planning. Women do this since like they're in kindergarten, they're learning how to be in relationships, and guys come to it late. But then because we start learning it and having to be conscious of it, it's now game playing. It's like, no, everything has a system that's going to give you the best results and outcomes.
Absolutely. So that's interesting. So for me, my plan was that, again, there's 4 stages of getting to know somebody. It takes a full year, 12 months, 4 seasons to really know who you're dealing with, period. Men or women.
Yeah.
Right. So the first phase, the first 3 months is all fun. The second 3 months is when people get real. The next 3 months you start saying, I don't like when you do this. And by 9 months, seriously, this is the way it happens, like over and over. It's very predictable. And by 9 months, typically, is when you start seeing if there's no deal breaker. It takes 9 months to find out if they, he liked to party. Now she finds out. It takes 9 months to find out he's a drunk, because he'll cover it up the whole time before this, because it's all about fun. We're having fun getting to know each other. It takes 9 months to find out what you're dealing with. It takes 12 months before you really, really have an idea what you're dealing with, because the next phase of the year is when you really start to communicate wants and needs and what the future may look like. I was going phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and 9 months, quit. Next girl, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, quit. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, because, by phase 3, by 9 months, this is when people realize, like, to step into the future, like this could work. And they start acting as such. I was young. I was a player in some ways, or I didn't play with women. I always had one at a time, but I had nothing to offer. I didn't want the marriage. I didn't want the kids. I didn't have the resources to take care of a woman, take that on as a man. So by 9 months, I can see myself taking care of her financially, so I would drop. Right? So, and I started with another girl. So that was my pattern. I was never going to get married. I'm not doing that. So there's no reason to do this until I met my wife. And I was done.
Well, let's take me through that. What was the courtship of your wife like? So you met her. What were your first few dates like? What was different about her that made you start to consider that maybe this could possibly be a long-term thing?
Well, what had happened is I life on the road, right? Sex, drug, and rock and roll, like you won't typical by the book, right? So that fit my idea of a lifestyle at the time, right? I was young, I had fun, but it turned out to be, after a year and a half of the last segment, I was 27 at the time, I was thinking, like, this is dangerous. This is not good, right? I'm starting to really, like, disrespect women in every way. Like, I always had respect for women, but I started losing it for the things that I saw, the things that we did, the things that we do to get to us, in a group like that. It's like, you see, like, the flip side, the manipulation side, the ugly side, if you want. And I started losing respect for women as a whole. And some of the guys in the group had been doing this for longer than me, and I saw the damage. I would look at, I remember one guy, especially Kevin, and I thought, he's been at it for more than 5 years, and I thought, like, he's done. He's completely twisted. Like, he'll never be normal. He'll never be able to have a normal relationship with women, not after this lifestyle, right? So, and I saw myself starting to sound like Kevin after a year and a half, and I thought, oh shit, like, I gotta get out of here. And I've done all the playing you can't do. I mean, like, after a while, like, who cares, right? It was just interesting. And after a while, I started feeling like I was being drained. And it's interesting. It was really kind of an amazing sort of, like, development for me. Get settled back in the city, and I start teaching. And I was literally looking for the one. I had my radar up, looking for a good one. I knew what I didn't want, and I was attracted to, sweet women. I'm in LA. That's a challenge. Just saying. They all like to think they're badasses. Yeah, no. And I'm a teacher, right? So they're all coming at me against the same life. And I'm like, no. Again, so it's not a big problem. I mean, but that was a problem for me. So until my wife literally walked into my class one day, and I'm like, she's a ballerina in the dance class. That's not her style. So she was trained and her like, oh my goodness, right? Okay. So I just got enchanted on the spot. I was finishing up the other girl who was making me nuts, right? The one who would let me in. So I can't double play anybody. So I had to get rid of and finish with the broken one, just to even consider, because she just kind of came in class, and I kind of like, oh damn, this is it. So give it a crazy. That took 3 months. It was terrible. And then when I was done with that, I thought I should probably reframe and resettle, and I was angry, honestly. So I thought, I just need to recenter, right? Don't jump into some stuff right away. Like, it's process this thing and kind of anyway. And at one point, I trained myself. There was such a dynamic with my now wife in class. She came to class 3 times a week that I couldn't even look at her, because when I look at her, I lost my stuff. Like, I can teach, like that's kind of. And she's flirting with me, and I'm flirting with her. But the difference is because I'm used to girls flirting with me. I hate to say it sounds arrogant, but it was just like the dynamic of my job.
Yeah.
When she flirted with me, it just brought me down. With the other girls, I go, yeah, okay, thanks. Like, losing my crap, like in public, like I'm trying to teach and I'm baffling now. And then at one point, this was 3 weeks into it, and I'm doing okay, and I'm settled a little bit, and then I kind of looked up and I locked eyes with her, and I'm like, "What are you waiting for, dude? Like, for some douchebag to like take her away, right? Like, because it was such an intense sort of whatever that was, because it was a little bit cosmic, I have to tell you, because I didn't know her, I didn't even know her last name. I ended up asking her out, right? And I'm the guy. Look at me, like no pretense, what I mean. So I'm not gonna get all dressed up and get you to a fancy restaurant and valet park the car and
all the proper stuff.
This is me, right? So if I want to know who you are, I'm not gonna have you pose for me. I want to know who you are. So I threw her in the car one night. I told her to wait for me after class and to just get ready, because I want to get to know her and get a bite. And I just threw her in my little car and went for pizza. And I'm still wearing my sweaty dance clothes. I just changed my shirt. Like, I'm just like, I'm not posing anything. This is me. Boom. Right. I was so sure this is the one. Like, I just like everything inside of me, like my, right. So I find out right before I start that class that she shows up in that Friday night before we go for pizza. I found out from another student, gold digger, that'll try to always get to me. She's like, oh my God, but good luck with that. She has a boyfriend for 4 years. They plan to get married.
Oh,
swear to God, she was so happy to, excuse my French, to throw that in my face. She was so happy to throw it in my face, right? Like, that just was like a hammer to the head, right? Everything that I felt, that I thought, that I imagined, like out the window. And I'm like, mad. So I taught class like a douche that night, because I was so angry, because like just pulled the rug from under me. And I'm always a fun teacher. And that night I scared everyone. Like, nobody, like, what is wrong with him, right? She joins class. She feels the same thing. But anyway, so we finally get to the pizza place. We sit in the restaurant, and I'm that guy, right? I can't, if I'm confused, if I know what's happening, like, I can't play. Like, so she goes, "How was your day?" I'm like, "Pretty good day. How's your boyfriend?" Like, that's me. I can't help it. Like, I'm not gonna sit there, right? Like, what the hell, right? What are you doing here? You have a boyfriend. You got to get married. No, you're sitting with me for pizza. What is this? And then I'll never forget. She's like, oh, and like, she like got so embarrassed, like the top of the head, right?
Oh wow!
And she's fidgeting with her fingers. She's like, oh, well, I thought you knew. I'm like, how would I know? I don't even know your last name. I just found out your last name. Right? Like, I know nothing about you. That's why we're here. But you have a boyfriend for 4 years. The guys are planning to get married. Well, it's not quite like that. I was like, you living with him? Well, yeah. I'm like, okay, all right. No, that's good. Okay, cool, fine. And I kind of chilled out and wet pizza, and I took her home. Right? And I'm thinking, okay, it's over. Like, I made this thing up in my head.
You'll never see her in class again. Like, yeah.
Right. 2 weeks later, she calls me.
Okay.
Now, she had to find a way to get my phone number.
I was about to ask, like, how did she have your number?
Yeah, she did what I did when I got her phone number. She threatened the girl at the front desk. Okay. Nice. She probably seduced the girl. I threatened her. Whatever. So, hello? Hi, Nancy. Yes? She's like, well, I have this choreography idea that I think you'd be interested in. If you want to, do lunch, I could share that with you. So I'm like, sure, good idea. So like on, like next Wednesday, because she was working during the day, but I could She worked for a guy in the hills, a photographer, whatever, in his house.
Real quick,
Go
I
ahead.
just want to point out for the guys here that are watching this. This is what happens when women are highly interested. They will actually reach out to you and track you down if they want you. Because I know there's a lot of guys that like, oh, I can't tell she likes me, or well, I call this thing and she's saying, giving these excuses, she can't see me. When women like you, this is a perfect example of what they will do. They will seek you out if they legitimately want your attention. All right. So
yeah, and right. There's layers in that, by the way, because that are dangerous. That we're not going to go down here, but it's interesting. Yes and no. By the way, we just said yes and no. There's a big magnetic that is feminine, magnetic pulling on you, and there's being manly, a woman who go after you. Two different things. So what she did was magnetic. I have something you might be interested in. Do you want it?
Yes.
Sure. But now I'm losing my mind. Right? At the time, I had a funky little classic car. It was cool, but it wasn't fancy, but it was cool. Instead of taking my car to pick her up, I borrowed a friend of mine's Jaguar.
Oh, man.
Yeah, really. So I'm trying to impress her now, right? Like, I've never done that in my life, dude. I put on the tightest leather pants known to mankind. They were in that back then, right? But these things were so tight. I mean, you can see 007. I'm just saying, just like here's me, all of me, like bam. I hear the boots and the funky shirt, and I had the cool glasses and the big hair because I have big hair. That's just how it goes. And I pull up outside of her work in a Jag, like this, with the shades on, like on the driver window. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, girl. And I'm trying to, just cheesy. Who am I? What is going on with me? Right? Put in the car, we drive to this restaurant that I knew. It was 2:00, so I knew it was going to be quiet. I knew the restaurant. I knew where to be seated. I knew blah, blah, blah. So I valet parked the car, which I never do, but I have a Jaguar. So I put it at the table, and of course, blah, blah, how was your day? Blah, blah, blah. And again, I can't stand it, right? So so what's this idea you have? And she goes, well, I don't have any ideas. I just wanted to see. Swear to God, I just wanted to see you, and I lost my shit in the restaurant. What do you mean? Well, and I literally started. Are you kidding me? And I start standing up and going like from there. Wow! And the story I just told you now just came out of my face, like all of it, right? And I'm standing up at the table in a restaurant, and I'm like, and then this idea, you get my phone number, but then look what I'm wearing. Look what I'm wearing. It's not even my car. It's not even my car. What's going on, right? And I fall back in my chair. Now you have no idea. And I pull in my chair. And I'm like, help me! Like what is going on? And she's still smiling. I'm like, why are you smiling? She goes, well, I feel the same way about you. I just don't know what to do with you. I knew it. Everything that I felt, right? But and that was a moment. Like I remember telling her, he was still there. She was living with him, right? And because of what happened between us, because the energy we had, getting to know each other very little, but we were around each other enough. And it's interesting that he made her question her relationship with him. How come she went out for pizza with a guy? Yeah. Like, who does that? You realize what was going on for herself. And that's why and then and then I realized in that moment, I'm like, I knew it. This is right. Like my instinct was right all along. This is my girl. And it says, so just so you know, it says you have to do whatever you do to finish that, right? To finish that. So you have to clean that up. But it says whether it takes you a week or a month or a year, just you're my girl. So when you're done, let me know. But you're my girl.
And how long did it take for her to?
3 weeks.
Oh, really? Okay.
I rescued her one night because he was mean to her. So I actually drove. I still had the Jag, so I go pick her up off the street at midnight because she's crying because he's right. And I rescue her and sort of took her back to my house and was sitting by the pool at midnight. Nothing happened that night, even though it could have. Like I had to stop it because it wasn't clean, right? It wasn't clean. She still wasn't done. But so that then within like the next week, she ended up moving in an apartment. But literally, even if she had her own apartment, she never left from then on. She never left. The guy who was never getting married, the guy who was never going to sign the paper, the guy who's never had any kids, finds himself in a position where, for the first time in my life, I experienced true connection, like true unconditional love. I mean, I could be bald, I could be fat. She just loved me.
Mm.
Like she believes in me, she trusts me, she supports me, and me back. But like we have a natural flow together.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who said his entire life, just a piece of paper is bullshit, doesn't change anything. This is weird. This is weird. It's very unexpected for me too that I was not going to do this, and then naturally, somehow, I needed to announce to the world that this was my girl.
So how long did you guys date before you decided that you wanted to make that decision and really like make this long?
A little bit over 2 years.
Okay. And then
You know
during
what I
that time, during the 2 years that you were dating, like obviously I mean, you like her, but you're also getting to know each other. Were there any, well, I guess in general between like the dating phase and also like when you, for the first years of your marriage, like were there any like ups and downs that happened? What things did you have to learn about her and also about yourself to really like make that a functioning thing that would work?
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. You know what I mean? Like, I'm uncomfortable with that. You know, when you do this, when you do this, this is what happens to me. You know, or when you did this, this is what I felt, or this is what I sensed. It made me feel disrespected. Is that what you meant? What? Right? And for her to be like, like when you did this, it kind of hurt my feelings. Is that what you meant? You know, and sort of open the channels for repairs because we, as men and women, were so different. We constantly trigger each other, not knowing, right? But if you don't fix it and talk about it, then you really start to believe something about the other person or how much they care for you, respect you, right? So for men, there's a respect part that kills us. For the women, is the feeling that we don't care or don't care enough that kills them. But if you don't fix those bumps in the road and you let them pile up, then that's when like you start getting pulled apart.
Yeah. What would be an example of like something that men do that make women think that we don't care, even if we do care?
Well, that's the big mistake, right? So men don't talk very much, right? We talk much less, by the way, 3 times less than they do, for very good reasons, by the way. So again, anthropology and genetics and all that stuff. So but men talk less. We don't know this. So women make the mistake often to think because men don't talk, that men don't think. Men don't talk. They're shallow. That's not true, but that's what it looks like, right? And what happens where women make mistake with men is that men are heady. Men are heady, women are hearty, right? Masculine is from the head, feminine is from the heart, right? Whether you're a man or a woman, by the way. So women who are masculine come from their heads and they disconnect from their hearts. Men who are feminine don't really use their heads. They're all about their feelings. Why don't you work? I don't feel like it. Really? Right? That's not really manly. So masculine is from the head, feminine is from the heart. So there's a nature to both. And we both have both. Talking is heady. Do you know what I mean? And what happens is, so if you want to know something about a man, ask him what he thinks, not what he feels. So what happens is women ask questions of men, but they ask the wrong questions.
That's so true.
So how do you feel about me? Good. And she's like, oh, good. That's it. That's all I get. Right? Like shallow, uncaring. Right? No. Ask him what he thinks about you long term. Or like ask him what he thinks, let him talk, and he's going to keep. There's a whole system to this, by the way. There's a whole system of not interrupting a guy when he's trying to answer questions to actually get to his feelings. So this is it's complicated to teach a little bit because it's anti instinctual for women. Women feel connected when they talk. Men will connect with you when you let them talk. So women typically will interrupt because he's taking too long to answer. And what happens is men, this is tragic in my world. I teach women this all the time, and teach men the mechanism, but men just respond to it. That we've learned, young men, like really quickly, by the time we're teens, that I can never finish a thought or answering a damn questions because I'll get interrupted. Do you know what I mean? Like seriously, because women, and it sounds terrible, and I'm not blaming anybody. It's just a lot of instinctual stuff. Women talk to connect, right? This is how we connect. We don't connect by talking. So when you ask a man what he thinks, ask him a question, we take that very seriously. It's not just conversation. It's like if you ask me what I have to think about it, and I'm gonna really tell you what I think, but it takes a little time for me to kind of go down and figure it out, right? But so often in that kind of like taking the question seriously, A woman's like, I guess he didn't hear me, and then rephrases the question, right? And then he goes, and then you're interrupting him, which is the most disrespectful thing in the world, by the way. Ladies, interrupt a man in anything he's doing, and you're gonna get he's gonna get frustrated, and he'll think he's a jerk. But it's an offense to a man who's single focused. Interrupt his process. He's thinking, he's talking, he's working. He's gonna get frustrated because it's like throwing a stick in his wheels. It stops the thing, and he's in the middle of something. Anyway, so he's trying to think about the question, and then she's like, "Oh, he's not answering," because women can talk instantly because they have that ability. We don't. We have to think about it. So as he's thinking, she jumps in with it, reframe the question because she thinks, I guess he didn't hear me.
Yeah.
He's thinking, but then, oh, there's an interruption. And then he goes, okay, that's a different question. So he has to start over. And she's like, well, he's not answering. Boom, reframe the question. So you do this to a man 3 or 4 times in a row, he's mad. Right now, he's like, I'm trying to answer the question. You keep interrupting me. Even if I start talking, you'll jump in, interrupt me. So I guess you really don't want to hear it.
And you're also stacking questions. Now he's got like 3 questions to try to answer.
Well, you can only
question.
you can only negotiate the last one. Honestly, you can't stack them, but it doesn't matter, right? So my point is, like, what happens is he's trying to answer the question and he keeps getting interrupted. So this happens like with our mothers, with other women in their entire lives in school. So by the time we get to be young men, we learn that I will never finish that thought or never answer that question. I'll be interrupted. So how was your day? Good. Because if I say anything else, I'm going to get interrupted and I'll get pissed. So this is what you get. So when women say, like, you know, they're shallow, they don't say anything, they don't ever share their inside, I want to know what's going on inside of him. I'm like, good training, right? Now you have to do something else to bring him out of that because he's learned his entire life that he will never. So it's not worth it. It's energy that I'm trying to spend helping you, but you won't let me. So we learn really quick. So that's why women think men are shallow. You get the one-word answer, but there's a lot of history behind that, and every man can relate to this, right?
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
But women don't understand that. Women have no idea. What do you mean? I'm just talking. What? Yeah, you are. And I'm just here waiting for you to stop talking.
And there's also the experience too of, because they're more feelings based, oftentimes when they ask a man a question, the answer we'll give is very analytical, and it's like, hey, it's no feelings, it's just
from the head.
X, Y, and Z. And then a lot of times women they'll be like, but what about this, or shouldn't it be this way, blah, blah, blah. It's like, but we're not thinking about it in like what it should be. We're thinking about how it actually is. And that can sometimes be offensive to them because they're like, why don't you understand it's always other factors? And we're like, we're just results people. So if A equals B, if A plus B equals C, all we care about is C. We don't care about, what about possibly D or E? We don't know how to factor that in, because that's
I don't know. No, so again, it's the same thing. Like, women want to know what men are feeling, but we don't lead our lives through our feelings. So it's not that we don't have feelings. We have deep, profound feelings, very profound and deep. Men feel deeply. You just can't see it because we have to protect ourselves from it. And men pride themselves in controlling their feelings. So you don't see us being emotional. You don't see us lose our temper. Not the masculine ones anyway. You don't see us raging, right? Like, right? Men pride themselves in controlling their feelings. Yeah. It's also part of being solid and be able to be a leader in emergencies and in panic situation and war situation. We don't panic. We don't lose. The feelings don't run the show. Our logic and how do we get out of this runs the show. Yeah. This is survival mechanism. It's very beautiful and it's very natural. Women are all about their feelings. So when you talk logic to a feeling woman, she's like, what is wrong with you? So they want to know our feelings, but we don't drive with our feelings. So what I just explained to you before is exactly that. How do you get to his feelings? Let him talk. He'll get to his feelings. It'll start with the logic of it, and he's going to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And you will get the bottom of it if you let him. But if you interrupt him, you always get the head. And you'll think he's cold and shallow. But no, you don't know how to do it. None of it is on purpose. None of it is anybody misbehaving. It's just... their need to connect by talking is opposite of our need to connect. We don't connect by talking, right? We actually, talking is work for men. So they want to talk. They want to make us talk to see what's going on inside, and if everything's good, excuse me, but that's not how we do it.
Right.
So there's another way to find that out. So it's just two different machines again. So we're not equals.
for men, like then for men who want to be like better connected with women in that way, like how can they, when they want to talk to women about a problem like that, how can they do it in a way where she's going to feel like she's being heard, and where she feels like there's like she's being heard and understood, and that she's being cared for, and that he's not trying to like push down what she thinks because of it being feelings based.
If a woman's feelings run the show, how she feels is how she feels. Whether it's good or bad or different, that's how she feels. Do you know what I mean? But what happens often is women in our world will try to explain to us how they feel. So they try to explain their feelings with their heads. And then you sit there and they start talking, trying to explain to you how they feel, but feelings are not negotiable. And so what happens is the more they try to explain their feelings, the more illogical they look to us, because it makes no sense what they're saying. They're trying to explain their feelings with their brain, and you see them just kind of spin and spin, and you go, what are you saying? I don't know what you're saying, because you can't explain how you feel, really, unless you really say, I feel this. But often women in the conversation trying to get there will just, and then we don't know what's going on, right? And you go, and we'll say, like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, see? Shallow, you don't care, love me, all that stuff. That's not it. Understand that we communicate differently, or we have a different operating system in how we speak, listen, operate, right, behave, and really respect. But like I said, I call it gender intelligence. If you're a woman, go learn how men function, so you understand how men function, and have a chance at getting better communications, and vice versa. If women expect men to act like their girlfriends, well, how's that working out for you, right? And men who don't step into their own self, their power, their building their character, stay soft and unproductive. How's that working out for you, right? Like, I teach men to understand that women connect by talking, and then you can help them. Okay, but so what are you saying? What are you upset about? Like, really? Well, sometimes they pile it with words because they're trying to soften the blow, and not really sure how to say it. And you don't like, we're not like, what's the problem, babe? Right? Well, yesterday when you did this, it made me feel like this, and it just really hurt my feelings. And I teach women to say, like, and did you mean to do that? Did you mean to make me feel like this, right? For clarity. So, now But then he goes, okay, wait, yesterday what I did, like now that's not what I was doing. Like what I was doing is this, but to her it looked like this, right? And that's when things get lost in translation, because we all both assume something else is going on, often because that's not how we do it, right? So, like, there's a way of communicating when you understand how she does it, and when she understands how he does it, to actually get to communicate. I'm a communication specialist. That's what I do, right? And one of the things that men and women miss the boat on is we assume that she should do it like us, and she assumed that we should do it like her, and that's not how we do it. Like, system-wise, we're different machines.
Yeah. It oftentimes seems like both sexes are trying to make the other person be like the way they would do stuff. Like, women want to be more feelings based, men want women to be more logical,
right,
or more direct in their communication. It's like neither of those things are things you actually want from the other person.
Right, and they don't work, right? So, like, what a friend of mine said to me, like, if you could tell, okay, listen, with all the stuff, because he's always asking questions, but sometimes frustrated. And he's like, if you could just tell me one thing, man. He goes, if you tell me how to get my girl to just do one thing at a time. And I just lost my mind. I'm like, you're an idiot. That's not a woman. So you want her to be a man. It's not going to work. Let it go, dude. Well, it'd be so much efficient. She's always spinning, and that's a girl. Now, you could help her with that as opposed to make her wrong for that, and vice versa, right? Like, I had some women that come to me. I go, I just realized my husband's a dumbass. I go, why is he a dumbass? Well, she goes, I just realized after all these years, he can only do one thing at a time. I'm like, that's a man. That's not a dumbass. That's just a man. Right. You, as a woman, can do 8 things at a time. That's actually survival, the survival mechanism back in the cave days, when you had to be aware of everything to make sure that you weren't going to get eaten, and that, the fire is going, where are the kids, where are the other women, like this awareness of everything for survival. We're hunters. Brain, hunter-gatherer. Hunters do one thing at a time, and the amount of focus it takes to hunt, everything else is irrelevant, right? So men do one thing at a time, like hunt. That's another survival mechanism. So the single focus is a must for survival of the species, and the super awareness is survival for women to survive in the species. And when we come together, right? So we're not supposed to be equal. We're not bringing the same thing to the table. We bring two different pieces that fit to make a unit better, to build a marriage, to build a relationship, to build a family, but it's two different pieces. It's not the same. So in our culture, when we're trying to equalize all this crap, this is why nobody can get together. Everything we teach in our culture is keeping people from getting into the flow of a dance, of a relationship, period.
Yeah. And it's easy, like the way that you function as your male or female self is wrong in some way. Women need to be, get out of the feminine and need to, work
man
more
up.
And men need to like stop being so toxic and be more in their fit. And it just doesn't
work. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It'll work for business some, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But in the love, I want to say it again, in the love matters is a kiss of death. It neutralizes intimacy. It neutralizes all polarity. And if you don't have polarity, this again, nature, two magnets, opposite attract, right? You get to do the same positive magnets, you can get them to touch, right? So being a masculine woman, you will not attract a masculine man. It's impossible. It's against nature and everything that's in nature and energy. So you want to be manly, you want to be that girl, just accept the fact that you have a really sweet little, beautiful little, good in bed, little do nothing boy in your life. Oh, you don't want that? Then learn to be a girl. And that's the work that I do. To me, a badass woman is not a woman who's a badass and knows how to handle, everything logistically like a man and be productive and competitive. A badass woman who can do both. Know when to be, in charge and know how to be a woman with a man.
Right.
That's a badass, but, being productive and manly, it makes you just, men will say this, right? Like, it's so irritating, right? Women, men are intimidated by my power. No, they're just irritated. They just walk away from you. Most men don't even say hi to you. We pick up that energy so quickly. You see one of those girls and it's like, oh, right? Like you don't even meet men, but the boys will be all over you. The boys are happy for you to work. The boys are like, you go girl, get the promotion when he's on the couch with the dog, smoking a joint all day long. I'm just saying, that's always the same thing. So there's a price to pay for every choice that you have. And I'm not telling anybody how to live, but if you want something healthy, fulfilling, long lasting, and really learn to dance, you got to do your work,
right?
And you got to understand it and don't disqualify everything that is natural because you got to pay.
True.
It's up to you. Yeah.
Speaking of that, you've been married now for what, like 20, 21 years, something like that?
Yeah.
Close to
26. We've been together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know.
So as a married man now, what are some things you see that single men aren't thinking about that are really, really important for a long-term relationship to work, other than like the superficial stuff of like, oh, she has to look good, she has to smell good, blah, blah, blah. What qualities did you see in your now wife that made you think like, oh, this is definitely the one I could see myself marrying? Like what was it about her in terms of like her attitude or just the way she went about the world that made you think this is like going to be really good?
She's naturally feminine and radiates. Like she walks in the room and she lights up the room. I don't know how she does that, but she's happy. She knows who she is. You know what I mean? She knows what she wants. She knows, you know what I mean? So she's not a stressed out woman who's trying to be perfect, She just is. And again, her career as a ballerina started when she was little. And so she always knew the flow of her life and she just stepped into this gracefully. So there's always stress and, competition in that world of dancing, even as a woman, but she was talented enough. So her life, she was happy. She was good. She was happy. She was a happy, lovely woman. So to be with her was a happy woman, not tension, not stress, not like, oh, geez, because this, right? A woman walks in the room and she's angry. You want to get out of there.
The whole room.
You want to get out of there. When a woman's happy, you just don't get close. So it's energy, and I hate to say it sounds kind of woo-woo, but that's really what it is. So her energy was pure and open and loving. She's also beautiful. Okay, put a fork in me. Jeez, are you kidding me? And I was actively looking. I wasn't playing anymore. I wasn't trying to hook up. I'd done all that. I was looking for quality. There's quality. I sensed it. I could, and that's what it was. I could attract, and then I go investigate, and it's kind of crunchy in the beginning, and it really quickly went the other way, but if I just looked at her, nothing would have happened. I had to go after her. Nature. Wow. I'm the sperm. She's
as
the
you
egg.
guys, as you guys got, engaged and you got married and you started going through like the first year's marriage, what were some things about yourself that you realized either, because I mean, up to this point, you weren't really thinking you were going to ever do long-term relationship.
No.
So what are things that once you made that commitment, you realized, oh crap, these are things I need to work on to really make sure that I'm on the right page for her?
Yeah, it was very interesting because this is the part that surprised me. Because me and her was easy. It's what happened when I committed to her that blew my mind.
Okay.
And I've never heard anybody talk about this. So this is kind of important for you to share any way you can, for a man to understand, oh, that would be why you would push through your crap and your fear and your challenges. What happened to me is I had a pretty good life, but there was me taking care of me. So it didn't have to be so over the top. And so that piece of paper that I thought, first it was like, it's just a piece of paper. And then when I decided that I want a piece of paper, it's like, well, it's just a piece of paper again, right? If it's just a piece of paper, big deal. Do it. Because I was compelled to tell the world, interesting. Do the piece of paper, it changed everything.
How so?
What happened is before this, it was me and her. It was me and her together. We're having fun. Piece of paper, now it's us. And then us, now I'm responsible for us. I'm the man. And us, like, this isn't good enough for us. This is not good enough for her. So then I had to up my game to be a better us, right? Which means lifestyle standard. She drives a Honda. No, that won't do. She travels too much. That car's dangerous. If there's an emergency, we have to up her safety. I have to up her safety. That's my girl. So we got to get a better car, that has performance stuff that if anything happens on the freeway, you can stop, turn, maneuver without rolling the damn thing. A Honda's not made for that, but the little Beamer is. Now I put that on myself instinctively. It became just automatic. Like, so, I have to step up. So I have to make more money. I have to make more money. What? For us, right? For her, to keep her safety. And then every standard that I have went up. That's just instinct, right? Now it's on me as a man to clean it up, make it better. That never changed. It kept going up and up and up and up. Like, this is what single guys don't understand. If you don't commit and then have to step up because you're accountable to somebody else, you just stay low key. You have your little shitty job, your little shitty car, and your 3 roommates, and you go anywhere. And when you get lonely, you flip up the computer. I ain't gonna go nowhere. It's not gonna change. You have to take a risk. Now you have to find a good woman as well. I understand that, but it's the commitment. It's the committing to somebody else and take that on that actually makes you like sort of light up and like, wait a minute, right? So, and then, dude, I was never gonna have kids, and all of a sudden I want kids. And then the moment she got pregnant, up. Do you know what I mean? And so with that is a lot of adjustment because it changes life radically. So what happens a lot for women is that the moment she gets pregnant and he's a man, what happens then he goes to work even harder because now he's worried about the future and he's really got to handle some stuff. So a lot of times when a guy finds out his wife is pregnant, his girlfriend, sometimes women go, he just disappeared. And they get worried that disappear. But typically he's disappearing. He's going to work more. He's like now shooting for the future. Again, it's all instinctual, which is fascinating. It surprised the hell out of me. I was never going to do any of that stuff. And like, I'm doing it 100 miles an hour. And I'm happy to do it. I feel like a stud every time I get something.
Yeah.
Every time we dub, like, bam, that's the one. Bam. One of my favorite memories over and over again is that I would pull up in the garage and I hear nothing but my car and the music in my car. But I turn off the car and open the door and I could hear them play in the pool. Like, I could hear the kids play in the pool with my wife, right? And I'm
like you did that.
I did that. That. They get to have a good life. They get to get picked up at home, at school. They get to like come home, have a snack, jump in the pool. It's summertime. I did that. There's a huge amount of pride in that, right? Well, men don't know this. You have to commit to something and take that on. Again, I was never be that guy. Who the hell am I?
And it's funny because, like, hearing you talk about how long you've been married and like how happy you've been, it's just amazing. Like, obviously, the divorce rate in this country is very, very high. And I'm just like, you've been able to make it to where it seems like you're been able to get away from those kind of pitfalls. So what can guys do to better divorce proof their life, whether it's showing up more presently or just being more in tune with his mate? Like, what can a guy do to make to have a better chance of that not happening?
Well, if you want a woman to respect you, you have to handle your life. So instead of looking for women to make you happy, which is like upside down, right? A woman will add to your life, but she can't be the reason why you're happy. A woman can only respect you if you're respectable.
Mm.
And being respectable is to handle your life and get ahead and, build something, and be able to give her a sense of safety because you handle your stuff, right? So what I see is men aren't willing to really do a whole lot. Whether they can't believe really that's going to last, but they want the companionship. A lot of men who are not feeling adequate in life, less than, like low running, key, just kind of get enough, get it done, get by if you want, which is very teenage like and young men like. It's normal, but you have to build your life.
Yeah.
But if you don't move from there, they just want a woman just to sort of fill up the inadequacy that they feel. Like they're not really happy and they're not really enough, but they think a girl will help them, So instead of the dance of coming together and kind of flourishing together becomes really like, as I call it, a symbiotic relationship where you get codependent. Like you both have a person making one person together.
Mm.
That's not a healthy way to connect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you need to be a woman just because you feel better being a woman because you're not alone, ain't gonna work. And she's gonna
Right.
sense that very quickly. Right? So like you have to handle your stuff and you have to be proud of who you are, be proud of pushing through your fear, your boundaries, your question mark, am I capable? Can I really do this? Can I compete out there? Can I, discipline myself and get ahead, and build something that I could be proud of for myself and then bring somebody into because when men get successful is when they go, huh, I want to share this with somebody.
Yeah.
It's different than trying to get into a symbiotic relationship where you just don't feel, you're lonely, so you're gonna get some girl to move in with you because that's not gonna work, right? That's not a dance. That's just a patch job. It's not
Mm.
healthy. And very soon the connection isn't really there. You're just kind of patching each other up. Women do the same thing. Women would rather be with some guy than being completely alone and feel unsafe in the world. The problem with this is it lasts for a while and it falls apart. And then you start again, it falls apart. And ultimately, when keep things falling apart, people stop.
Mm.
And then they become the people that scare the children because, the old man in the building was scared all the kids and the crazy cat woman. I mean, that happens because we're not made to be alone long term. We're not built
No.
to be isolated. So nature has us always trying to come together, but there's a way to do this that's long term. There's a way to do this to build something as opposed to just kind of be together or be together because you're lonely, be together because you don't want to, right? And 50-50, right? 50-50, 50-50. That's not a really, that's not a dance. 50-50 is disco dancing in front of each other, but no real connection. We live together, we play house, but we have different bank accounts. We have different, right? And nobody really wants to get in and
It's like
learn to do a
parallel versus
relationship.
like together. Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of a ballroom couple dancing and really building something together beautiful that wasn't there before, we try to stay separate and make each other feel better by being in our presence. But nobody's investing. Nobody's really investing. And they're just trying to do life and see if it works out. And if it doesn't work out, I can just walk away. There's no investment there. It's always going to fall apart.
Yeah.
I mean, 90% of the time, sometimes it works, but it's likely this is like playing house and playing relationship. And just because you don't want to take the risk, well, it doesn't work. You have to take the risk. Anything valuable, is there's risk of cost of injury and hurt and pain. But if you don't do it, you don't really get. I have one of my friends who says, "Dude, you're so lucky. You have everything." And I go, "I do. I am lucky." But do you think that was easy? Do you think that was easy? Do you think I just sat back and like, I just like, do you think that just came out of, and the part that most people are maybe not realize, I'm going to choke now, see?
Yeah. What?
I'm going to choke.
Why?
I'm thinking about my wife, like when you fall in love this hard, when you have children, just the thought, like the joy and happiness that it brings is immediately met with what if? What if she dies? What if I lose her?
Yeah.
Right? My kids. What if? Like, so the love that I experience with them then immediately brings fear behind it, right? you know what I mean? There's a lot to lose.
Yeah.
So the more I have, the more I have to lose. And that's
But it seems like
that's
for most ultimately it's
overwhelming.
worth it. Like it seems like it's worth it in terms
Well,
of
that's
like,
what I mean. That's what
yeah.
I mean. Like, so I says, you want what I have, you have to like kind of make it happen. And as beautiful as it is, there's also a lot to worry about.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
people that have a lot of money don't necessarily are necessarily happy because they're so busy trying to keep that money and sort of like always manipulate. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
people that are in the middle that seem to be happier somehow. Middle class is happier because they're not so worried, but everything's going well. You know what I mean? So the
Yeah.
more you have to lose, the more you love, the more you have these things that bring you incredible joy in your life. The flip side is it's a lot of work, and
Mm.
sometimes it's very scary. This is something I could lose, but would I not have my children just because of the fear of losing them?
The excuse men and women both give about like if they're single and aren't dating, it's like, oh, because I don't want to get hurt out with this and that. It's like, but you're missing out on so much. Like, yeah,
That's
you
it.
have to, you'll never get hurt, you'll never have to feel a heartbreak, this and that, but you miss out so much in like what another person can bring
Right.
to your life, what things you could together put out into the world. It's like, why would you risk giving that up because oh, you might get rejected or you might get your feelings hurt or it might not
Right.
work out the way you want it to with the particular person. Like,
Right.
you know, because I mean, I've definitely been through my share of like dating experiences where I dated and then it didn't work out or that it kind of was or whatever. But it's like I never regretted those experiences because it like I was still leading towards the path of I'm eventually going to find somebody that can do this with me long term. Why would
Right.
I give that the possibility of doing that?
And that's how you grow. That's how you learn about yourself. That's how you learn how you're in a relationship. That's how you learn what doesn't work. That's how you learn how it works, right? And but it's a risk. Of course, you get hurt. But if you don't take the risk, you have to clean up your crap, right? Clean up your baggage first, and then understand how this whole thing works. And man, look out for this. Any woman who says to me, "Well, he needs to meet me up here," right? Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Who the hell do you think you are? Really? So what are you going to do for him to even step up? Like, who are you, and what are you going to do for him to even want? No, he doesn't get to meet you up here, right?
Yeah.
You get to meet him and see like how you can learn to dance.
This has been a fascinating conversation. Where can people check out your stuff and your work and your programs and stuff like that?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, projectequinox.net, equinox as in, the place between daylight and darkness,
Yes.
equinox,
Nice.
EQUINOX, projectequinox.net. And then on there, like I have blogs, I have YouTube videos, like all connected to everything else. You can spend there's articles that I wrote and all kinds of stuff. But also, there's an appointment tab that says contact appointment. You click on the appointment tab and book yourself a VIP hour. I call it a breakthrough hour, where you book a time. It goes to my calendar. You book a time and a day and time, and we'll have a conversation about what is this that's not working, what is it you want, and how I can help. Very simple. That call is very interesting because we dig into your past and kind of find out your baggage enough to go, this is why it got derailed, and how to like undo it and really just step into maybe a different mindset so you can get what you want, because you have to know clearly what you want and what it looks like in order to go and get it. Complimentary call on me for your listeners typically costs a good chunk of money, but and then that's sort of a curiosity piece. This, if you're curious about what I do and maybe looking to get some help, ta-da! But I do events every 3 months. So if you follow me, I have an Instagram account called Relation Dynamics.
Yeah, guys, definitely check out his website. He's got a lot of great articles there, some of which actually dive a little bit even deeper into some of the stuff we talked about today.
Sure.
A lot of great blogs and stuff like that. And definitely check him out for the coaching and stuff like that. But yeah, well, I appreciate you coming on to the show, Andre. This has been a very, very dynamic conversation. I'm glad I got to speak to, especially speaking to a person that is married, because like I said, I like the guys to get that insight from guys that have actually been married and are married and been successful at it, so they kind of know what to look for and how to start preparing themselves for that next step should they decide.
Yeah. On the website as well, if you go to the blog, to the YouTube channel, I'm a guest on. I do a lot of podcasting as this, but there's a Dr. Vibe, which is there's a men's group, and they have me speaking to them. So for you, man, like the Dr. Vibe podcast would be interesting because we go right into men's stuff, like what's not working and what's working. So that could be something, a source for you guys as well.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching this show, and be sure to go to Andre's website and check out some of the other shows that we have to offer here at introvertdatingsuccess.com, as well as my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Harry Wilmington. Thank you for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this episode, and catch new episodes right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out these other episodes so you too can learn to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.